Okay, so this is the return of the Withered Hands podcast after it's been a long time since I last did a show. And I now have a gentleman that's been on the show before. It was May 2014 that we did the show the first time. And so it's kind of interesting that you're coming back on all these many years later. And please introduce yourself to the people so they know who the hell I'm talking about.
Hi, Tom. Yeah, that's 11 years later. I can't believe it. This is such a long time ago. So I'm Kostas Panayotou, and most people know me as the sort of main man, if you like, of the band Pantheist. But over the years, I got involved in quite a few other bands and projects, which I'm sure we'll touch on in this conversation.
I wish out because when I was researching earlier, I was like, wow, I did not realize how many bands you've been involved in, and even like new bands now. I was like, what's going on here? Do you know how to relax?
Yeah, no, I'm actually quite relaxed. It's just weird to say that, but it doesn't feel like music is keeping me that. I mean, it keeps me busy, obviously, because that's what I want, but not to the extent that I'm burning out. You know what I mean? So no, everything is very manageable actually. So I mean, to be fair, it depends how you are involved in bands. So in Pantheist, it's a lot of mental, how do you call it, strain, I guess, because I'm sort of the main person who has been keeping the band going for 25 years. But in a lot of the other stuff that I get involved is generally, hey, Kostas, do you want to do some keyboard for my project or whatever? So that's quite easy for me. I can do that quite easily without too much effort.
Has there ever been anyone that's contacted you and it's like, oh, Costas, can you do some keyboard? And you're like, no, I'm good, thanks. Or have you always said, yeah, sure, I'll do it?
I won't say any names, but yeah, a few times it has happened. I can't always say no, yes to everything. I mean, there's lack of time, first of all. And secondly, I really need to enjoy doing what I'm doing. You know what I mean? I mean, in sort of this type of music that we play, it's just not, you're not making any money or anything like that. I mean, typically if you have your costs covered, you should be happy. So really, then it's all about the pleasure of the actual activity, doing the thing that you're doing. So I need to enjoy it. That's for me the number one rule before I get involved with anything, really.
With regards to Panthiest, because correct me if I'm wrong, but in the past maybe year or 2 years, you seem to be playing quite a lot of shows. And maybe it's not a lot, but it seems more than it was. And like I was lucky enough to see you guys in Belgium, and I know you've been doing more, and you've got more coming up. Even today, when I looked up at you on YouTube, it was like, hey, this might have been an old video, but it's like, hey, it's our 100th show, and it's like, okay, and I was like, okay, you're really going full on force with it, and what was the decision? Because it does, to me, seem like you're doing a lot more live shows. Is that me interpreting it, or am I right? Am I wrong? Like, how's it going
No,
about? You explain.
you're absolutely right. The reason is basically I mean, last time we did the interview, 2014, you said so. The band was still based in London then. It's not. It's based in Wales now, in Cardiff, and that was a big change that has made it much more active. So in 2018, I moved to Wales myself. So when I moved, obviously the lineup kind of fell apart because the band was based in London, so it was difficult to keep the same people going. And then the pandemic came, so it became a bit more of a studio project for a few years. Around that time, 2020, 21. And then as of 2022, I really, really started to miss playing live. So I thought I'll just rebuild the lineup, and then I started first jamming with Matt, who had already joined me. Anyway, he was the only one here in Wales. While for the rest, I was working with people across the world. That's how we did the album Closer to God. So Matt and I started jamming, and then we started inviting more people. And so by the end of 2022, we're ready to do gigs. So we played our first gig with this lineup, and we are all local. It's the first time in the history of the band that everyone is local, as in everyone is within half an hour from rehearsal from each other, from the rehearsal place, whatever. So yeah, that has made it much easier, and people prioritize it, which I'm very grateful for live gigs. So yeah, you're absolutely right. We went from there was years from zero gigs and years for even when we're active live, there was years we played 2 or 3 gigs the whole year, and now we're talking about 15 gigs a year. So definitely an increase, of course.
I read a part of an interview that you said regarding a lot of like even a high profile like doom bands. They don't really play England, You listed, I believe, My Dying Bride and Paradise Lost, and but you are playing like all over the show. When you started playing again, did you start in Wales, or did people reach out to you when they knew you were playing live again, or have you? Okay, in short, how do you find the gigs? Because, like I say, there's quite a few of them. How are you finding these gigs to play?
Yeah, well, a lot of it, I mean, it has to be DIY. And so when we started playing it in the beginning, I was just setting up the gigs myself until people started inviting us to gigs again. And then we started writing, as you do, we try to be organized. So we started an Excel sheet, looking up on the internet promoters and people that we know, we brought them all together. And then we started writing to all of them and say, hey, like if you ever want us to play a gig, we're well up for it, etc. Yeah, Wales is important for us because we are based here, but it was difficult in the beginning because we had maybe like 20 people at the gigs. We still do occasionally, but here in Cardiff we started to build a bit of a momentum. A lot of the gigs here in Cardiff I organized them myself. Even the last one we did at, which was our 25-year anniversary gig, by the way, here at the Club Ivor Bach, which is the local sort of one of the local venues. And we, yeah, now we get maybe like 70 people or so as in paid tickets, to the gig. So it starts, you feel there's a little bit of momentum. So we try to build around that. Then playing gigs around the area, Bristol. And then a few things happened in 2023 that we started making some inroads, I would say, up north. And I have to say, I'm probably lucky to have a contact there because I'm playing in another band called Art. I'm just a live member there, playing piano and keyboards. But that band is quite well connected. It has members of Winterfell in, etc. So through that, we got a gig at Huddersfield Town Hall in 2023, for instance, where we played with a pipe organist. That was quite special. Then we played at Ripperfest. That's Gary who organizes the Scarborough sort of the black metal festival in Scarborough Fortress. So that sort of gigs, and because we started playing, well, I'm saying up north, but everything is up north from here, isn't it? So people from the north, please don't get offended. But we started playing in places like Manchester, Liverpool. We've played Derby, Yorkshire a few times, Leeds. We're coming back to Leeds later this year. So we start building a little momentum in certain areas. And you know what? Like any band, we just go where people want to have us. And at the moment, is either here in the area, sort of around Wales and Bristol and all that, or yeah, Manchester and up north in Yorkshire.
Well, being up north, like playing up north, isn't that like the birthplace of this type of music? So you must be
Yeah,
having good turnouts like at these shows because up there, yeah, like some of the biggest names in this sort of genre. I'm going to get onto your genre actually, because I
yeah.
put in my notes here from church funeral doom to progressive atmospheric doom. Because when I was re-listening, I was like, hang on, they've totally changed. Like you still got your identity, but you've totally added so many things to it. And I also want to get onto your solo stuff, but that's for later. We'll get into that later because I didn't realize how much you had done. I was like, thank you, Bandcamp. How much is on there? I was like, wow, like it's the complete history of Kostas here. Um, anyone listening to this, yeah, go to Bandcamp. There's everything there, like literally everything. It's um, so yeah, okay, up north. What was I going to say? That's what I was going to say. Are you able to say why you moved to Wales, or is it just like was it just the work thing, or is it anything to do, or you just wanted to change? Because you and Ian moved to Wales, because I'm sure he's moved to Wales, hasn't he? And I love
Yeah.
Wales. I've only been there once, but it's so nice, and the people were so nice as well. And when you say you were from, like, you used to live in London, and it's like, I don't really like London. So when you say, oh, I went to Wales, okay, you've made the right choice there.
Yeah, no, it was a deliberate decision. Ian, by the way, moved, was it a year or a few years before me to Wales, so he was already here. But he only lives about an hour away, so we meet each other, quite often when we can. But yeah, you probably remember that I used to live in Slough at the time. That's
Yeah,
where,
yeah.
you know, how I knew also
You knew Nick, and
Nick. Yes, that's
yeah,
it, Nick.
and have you ever speak to Nick anymore?
Exactly.
Because I haven't spoke to him since before we did our last show.
Oh, really? Well, intermittently only a few times in the last 10 years or so. Yeah, and I think I've sent him the album Seeking Infinity at the time, the vinyl. Then he sent me sort of the latest release at the time of Sounds of Alpha Centauri. That was some split album that they had done, and I haven't spoken very much with him, but that's where I was at the time. I was living in Slough, very very different environment. very convenient, I guess, for work and all that. But you know what? I'm sort of someone who likes nature. And my wife Cheryl is the same. We like nature. We like to be in the countryside. We like to take walks, to go to the beach, whatever. So the dream was always to move towards the west. Yeah, and that's how we ended up in Wales. First, we thought Bristol, and then we realized that Bristol prices are pretty much like London prices, so that wasn't gonna happen. So we went further west, and we ended up here. And you know what? We didn't regret it at all. It's really nice. For the band, it's probably less convenient, I have to say. Well,
Yeah.
definitely less convenient than being in London. From London, everything was so much easier to travel to. But you know what? Um, it doesn't matter if people are motivated to do the work anyway. So you know you will travel anyway to play a gig because that's what you want to do. So yeah, it was a deliberate decision moving to Wales, and we're really enjoying it.
Is this like the favorite place you've lived? Because I know, like, you're Greek, so I'm guessing at some point you lived in Greece, you lived in Belgium, and then you lived in England. I'm sure there might be other countries you've lived in, but now you're in Wales. Is there a favorite place you've ever lived?
Well, they're all. It's kind of. It depends. You know, I believe that people change in their life and depend on where what stage you are. You might have a different favorite place. You know, I really like living in Antwerp, for instance. When I was in Belgium, that was great for the time. But for this time in my life, you know, Wales is perfect. That's where I want to be. I always feel I am where I need to be. You know, so if people ask me, "Oh, what's your favorite place?" Well, my favorite place is where I live. You know, otherwise I wouldn't be here because I don't
Yeah.
like to live somewhere where. Well, you know what? If had someone asked me in Slough, I probably wouldn't have said that this is
I
my.
was going to say Slough. Like, come on.
To be honest, yeah, I wouldn't have said that this is my favorite place. Having said that, even though Slough itself was not really, it's not appealing. There's quite a lot of nice areas around. That's how we discovered West Wickham, for instance, the Mausoleum and the Hellfire Club caves and all that. We did sort of a part of a video clip for the Enlightened Ones was like there in West Wickham. So it has so many amazing areas around it. So again, you can make a play even if you live in a not attractive place. You can make it your home by exploring the area around it and then making trips around, day trips or in the evening after work. You know, as we're doing now. Sometimes now that it's good weather, we just go to the beach after work and we walk around. I sit on a hill and I meditate. You know. Uh,
Nothing
that,
wrong with that.
that sort of stuff. So yeah, wherever you live, I think you can make it your favorite place. Slough will never be my favorite place. Absolutely.
I'm glad to hear you say that. Okay, so am I able to bring up your wife? You just did. Can I
Of
mention something
course.
about your wife?
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
So I got to meet your wife in Belgium, and I know I've met her before. I met her at it was either an esoteric show we were at or a cloud show. You were there with her at the same time, and I got to meet her. Um, and she has no idea who I am, so that's fine. But it's like she she's a bit more impactful in your music from the arts direction, right? Does she help you with art with regards to it? Because I swear on one of the sleeves it says like cover made by Cheryl. And is she more involved now than she used to be, or how did that come across? How did that come about? Sorry.
Yeah, no, Cheryl has always been involved. She's the person who's been doing most of the artwork of all the albums that you see from Pantheist. The only exception was actually the very first version of "Oh Solitude," which was done by our then drummer Odile. But now it's yeah, since the reissue of "Oh Solitude," then she did the artwork for Amartya, Journey to Lanzarote. So everything basically she has been doing, and for a long time she was also doing most of the band photo shoots and most of the flyers and yeah, she's a bit like the visual sort of side of this project, if you like, many years. Not so visibly so, but she's always there. Even now, you know, she's at the gigs and she generally does the merch and would take some videos. The videos that I'm posting on social media very often is videos that she has taken or pictures or whatever, you know. Yeah, Cheryl has been involved for a long time. She's probably way more into some more extreme music than I am, to be honest. So
Really?
yeah, yeah, she's totally into Ruins of Beverage. That's her favorite band.
Oh,
So
okay. I
what I
don't
really like,
understand. Okay.
yeah, what I really like now. Also, after I've been brainwashed, listen, listening to them, I see into that really super atmospheric yet super brutal death metal. Sometimes that I find sometimes difficult to. But she, you know, she yeah loves sort of extreme stuff. And when we first met, she was more into that sort of the traditional and the true doom, what they used to call, you know, that sort of stuff. was putting me to shame with my gothic doom and all that. But she also liked my dying bride, crucially, so we could find a common ground there, and skepticism. She likes the whole image and the churches and all that, and that was a big influence for me as well, visually, sort of the whole idea of sacral, sort of spiritual atmosphere, sort of vibe, or the if you I don't know, you've seen Skepticism live, right? You came to that church gig we did.
No, I was meant to come to that church gig. Is it the Gills? I can't
Yeah,
remember.
that's
Yeah,
St. Giles. Yeah,
St.
yeah, yeah,
Giles. Yeah, I was.
yeah.
No, that was one Nick invited me to, and I wasn't able to go. But
Ah, okay, that's fine.
the
Yeah,
recording of that's
yeah.
on Bandcamp as well, isn't it? Is that
Yeah,
from?
yeah,
Yeah.
I have the recording. We just really like it at the time we did it. So that's a show for the listeners who don't know. In 2012, we did the craziest gig. We played at it was right at the center of London as well, wasn't it? It was at Tottenham Court Road, and there's a church called St. Giles in the Fields. And our drummer at the time, Stereos, he just had a dream. He said, "I want to do a gig in a church," and we're kind of laughing at him. Ha ha, you know. And he said, "Well, what's his pace?" And Stereos is a bit like that. If he has an idea, he just kind of goes for it. So he started calling around. Churches and all that. And yeah, first he was getting, and he was forwarding some of the emails, and we're laughing because it was the user like, no, we don't want that riffraff in our church. Thank you very much. The response, that sort of thing. And then suddenly, yeah, he contacts the verger at St. Giles, and I think the answer was something like 500 quid. And Stelios was like, okay, great, that was it. So it was kind of it was kind of weird because it was a proper, very often you see sometimes gigs, bands playing gigs in churches, but they are deconsecrated churches, so that's
Mhm.
different because they're not really used as a church. But that one was actually used as a church. And as a matter of fact, we played on a Saturday evening, and our curfew was 10 o'clock, I think. And then Sunday they had the mass, you see. So we had to clean up afterwards as well. So it was that sort of show there, and it was recorded. And it's another crazy story there. It was like the sound man of Cradle Filth that did the recording. I forgot his name now. I've credited him on Bandcamp if you want to find out. And he was a contact of Stereos, and he said, "Well, do you want to do it? But we don't have a budget." And he's like, "Man, for for me to be able to do the sound in the church, I'll do it for free." He was just
Oh
so
wow.
interested in the idea. So yeah, he brought the whole PA and everything. And, he did everything because he loved doing it. And then he gave us the recording, and then I mixed them years later. And only 2020, that's like 8 years later, I kind of released them on Bandcamp. At the time of the pandemic, we had nothing to do and all that. And I'm like, what shall I do? Well, let's finally release this bloody uh, record that I've been sitting on for all these years, basically. So yeah.
Did people outside the band know you had recorded it?
Um, you mean like the audience and sort of everyone else, or
Yeah, I like because in all the time because we spoke about that show before when we first spoke because it had happened
yeah,
after we had spoke, and in all the time, like, did anyone know that you were going to release it? You said you did it in the pandemic. You're like, oh, let's just release this, let's get this done. Like, did anyone outside know you were going to release it? Because it was quite a special show. Like from what I hear from the people that were there, it was really special. And like,
yeah.
did I mean, what was I going to say? Like, did Skepticism record their part of it, or did they not?
Well, that's the thing. In the beginning, we did say that, and we're probably a little bit too. And that since then, I've learned to be a bit more cautious with that sort of stuff because I
Okay.
was like, oh, there's gonna be audio and video available and all that. And what happened, of course, you guess things going wrong with that sort of stuff. So our recordings were absolutely fine. And guess what? We also recorded Skepticism, but then for some reason, the microphone what was the microphone for? It was a very important part of the drum. I think it was the cymbal, like or the
Yeah.
crash or whatever, and that was muted. So the whole show was recorded without a very important part of the drum kit
Oh,
present,
okay.
basically.
Yeah.
And we gave it to them. And they're like, "Well, there's not much we can do with that if that is missing, But otherwise, I had to go back and re-record the whole thing, and it's kind of difficult because they play at a sort of quite fluid tempo, if you like. So yeah, it was recorded, but it only worked out for us and not for them. And then the video itself was, yeah, we saw the quality, and it's like, nah, it was some some students who came, friends of the drummer again. We came to do the video recording, and just the quality wasn't there. Having said that, and I'm saying this now, but uh, Skepticism did a documentary some 5, 6 years ago, whatever it was, and the guy who did the documentary reached out and he said, "Do you have any footage?" And I sent him a few things, and one of them I said, "Well, it's really low quality footage, but I can send you from St. Giles." And I sent it, and part of it he actually incorporated in that documentary. So there you go. There was a good reason for to keep that footage after all.
Yeah, it got used for something quite special then. Yeah.
Yeah,
Speaking of like quality though, the the live recording on YouTube, it's the show in Huddersfield, right?
yeah,
Yeah, with the pipe organ, that is really high quality, the sound
yeah,
and the visual.
yeah.
So how did the recording of that come about? Was yours the only part that was recorded? Was the whole thing recorded?
The whole thing was recorded. That was another I mean, there's probably like over the years, if you ask me what the two more special gigs are, these two I would say. So St. Giles 2012, and this one, so Huddersfield Town Hall June 2023. That probably trumped the previous one. To be honest, it was even better. And both of them we had 300 paid tickets, by the way, exactly more or less the same, which is quite interesting. Um, but that one was Art and Pantheist, and I was playing in both bands, and I was actually the only person there playing in both bands, and it was super stressful, I have to say, because it was a massive production, a very big production. So it was an initiative of Mark Minute. Mark Minute is a recording engineer. He actually has recorded the last two My Dying Bride albums, among others,
Okay.
and he's based there in Huddersfield. And he's a professor at Huddersfield University as well. He used to play in a band Kill to This that was quite well known at the time. He reformed it recently. They used to play with Typo Negative and things like that. So he wanted to do, basically he spoke with a pipe organist who was at Huddersfield Town Hall playing the pipe organ. And the pipe organist mentioned, well, the pipe organ is like is now seen as an how shall I put it politely? Like I would almost have said an old fart instrument, but but basically old-fashioned instrument, like like that. It's not the modern audience are not interested, and we try to um, rebrand it a little bit. Try to make it a bit more cool. So, what would you say if we were to do something together, like for a more modern audience? And Mark Minut's idea, quite rightfully so, was like, well, you know what a good genre would be? Doom metal, he said, because it's actually quite slow and pipe organ drones, and that works really
Yeah, it
well.
works with it. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So he suggested doom metal, and then his contact was Arth, the other band that I'm playing in. Remember that I mentioned earlier. Um, and Arth played, and they're like, okay, and we need a support band. And then, Mark from Arth said, oh, would you like to play with Panther? I said, well, hell yeah, I'm there, man. So yeah, so that's how it came up. But the whole thing was very carefully planned. It was quite an enterprise. If you were there on the day, you would have seen. I'm not. It was Aaron Stenthorpe was involved. He
Oh
did.
wow, yeah, the My Dying Bride guy.
Yeah, yeah, he did like some spoken parts for art. So we tried to make it a theatrical sort of event. Not just a gig. It was a whole event basically, and it was on a Monday evening. It was a strange day for a gig, but again, 300 people turned up. Paid tickets. Amazing. Um, and yeah, it was the pipe organ, Aaron, then Mark Minute recording everything. It was just the most. I don't really understand how we pulled it off, to be honest. So we everything was recorded, and then the pipe organ was a problem because the original idea of Mark was he was expecting that the pipe organ would be too loud and that we have to almost like what's the word like limit it a little bit in the
Mm.
sound because it would overwhelm the bands. And guess what? It was exactly the opposite. Like the bands completely overwhelmed the pipe organ. We couldn't hear it, so he had to put extra microphones on top. So it was at the last moment, so many things happening, adjustments, trying to make it work. And between all that, I had to play. We had to play. Well, I had to play two gigs with two bands, but there was an organist there, as I said, and this organist we never rehearsed with him because he lives like 4 hours away or whatever. So I sent him the scores and hoped for the best of the organ part, and I never heard what he was gonna do. It's just on the day itself, he said, "Oh, Kostas," he said, "Can I check? Is that how it goes or whatever?" It was a bit like that, but we didn't have practice
I
time
would
to
say
even
you didn't
practice.
rehearse with him, did you?
Didn't rehearse, didn't do sound check, do nothing. I mean, because it was so stressful and everything was trying to make everything work. And literally, like 10 minutes before the beginning, just before the doors open, we did a very quick like line check to make sure everything the balance is all right. And then it's like, Well, in a moment we're gonna have 300 people here, guys. So you have to get on with it. So while I was playing, I said to the organizer, "Okay, how do we will we communicate?" Because he doesn't know the songs. I sent him the songs, but hell, he knows. He knows doom metal. He plays classical music normally. So I said, "Okay, so what I'll do is I'll raise my hand." Because there's a long sections where he didn't play anything, and then suddenly he had to come in, that sort of thing. So I was raising my hand, and then he knew, okay, that's where I come in, that sort of stuff. So it was like things like that, and at the last moment we had to hope for the best. But you know what? When you play with professional musicians, you realize you can make everything happen, and he was just great. David Pipe is his name. What a name for a
Yeah,
vocalist,
what a
right?
name.
David Pipe, yeah, amazing guy, really, really good, like, really cool, and yeah, we pulled it off, and it was all recorded by Mark. Like I said earlier, he's a sound engineer. He does my Dying Bright albums. He knows what he's doing. He kind of mixed them a little bit, of course, to make sure they sound good, and that's why it sounds so great. It sounds amazing, to be honest.
It's really professional. Like, I don't know why you didn't just put it on a DVD or a Blu-ray or something. Maybe because they're going out of fashion. I don't know. But like, it's on YouTube, and anyone should literally. It's been viewed by a lot of people, but anyone listening to this that hasn't heard it or seen it, go and watch it. Because are the songs they're also on your King Must Die EP? Kings Must
Yeah,
Die EP. Yeah,
no, the Kings Must Die EP contains all these songs. Obviously, not the video; it's just the audio. But
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but on the videos, you hear the same audio because we mixed it with the audio that was mixed properly to have the best possible sound. What you hear there, but and yeah, the videos have been viewed quite well on YouTube. They're doing quite well. It's actually a good point you say about the DVD. Like I said, I don't even have a DVD player at home. I don't. I've kind of assumed nobody
Everyone
actually
streams
did
now,
anymore.
don't they?
Well, they all stream, it seems to be, and people can find it easily on YouTube. So I'm thinking, well, fair enough. It's a sort of thing you might want to do in an ultra limited edition one day. Who knows? Maybe like 10 DVDs or 20 or whatever.
I
um,
just don't release because I remember Paradise Lost released a reissue of Gothic with a really terrible DVD. Like
oh,
there's a live concert and it's awful. It's
oh,
like
really?
why have you put this out? This is shit. Like
Oh,
what is
no.
this? But yeah, please don't
I
do that.
haven't watched that one, so I better don't, so by the sound of it.
Yeah, just no, just avoid it at all costs. It's their early stuff, which is cool,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's just really bad sound, really bad color, really bad quality, and it's like,
yeah.
wow, I paid extra for this. Thanks. you
Well,
know.
yeah, but that's part of, I mean, that's a very good point you raised there. No, nowadays, with music having become much more of a commodity, when you bring something out physically, it has to be good, right? You can't just bring out anything, and just put it out there on a physical medium because people will not care about it. You need to package it nicely, and it needs to, yeah, it needs to sound, it needs to look great. And a video, of course, especially needs to look great, if you're gonna go through the effort. So yeah.
With regards to digital stuff, do you find you get more sales digital than you do of your physical releases?
But we get a decent number of sales. That's of the digital stuff, and that's where Bandcamp is really good because you don't get it so much on iTunes or anything. But on Bandcamp, you've got people there that are just there to support artists, and that's I keep advocating for Bandcamp because it's such a great sort of platform because it's a very sort of band-led platform, and therefore everything that is sort of everyone who comes from Bandcamp is someone who we like to spend time with music, we like to support bands directly, and people like to build that sort of personal relationship, so very often, even when they don't want a physical medium because they don't have a CD player or whatever, and even though they stream the music, they still want to do something to support the band. The easiest way to support any band is by buying a digital release, let's face it, and sometimes people pay twice or three times the price of the album because they don't particularly want to buy another physical item and then pay taxes or whatever. So either pay tax on digital anyway, mind you, but postage and everything else. So they would just, pay, as a way of supporting the band, just pay for the digital release. So it's a good way for bands to to complement an income. To be honest.
How do you consume music? Like, do you have it digitally, or are you still buying vinyl? Are you still buying CDs? Like, how do you do it?
Everything, all of that.
Yeah.
I've got tapes. I've
Last time we spoke, you were bang on your tape. You were well into tapes again.
Oh,
You were
was
like, yeah,
it? Yeah, yeah. I still have the tapes. I mean, I don't play them every day, but occasionally, when I'm in a particularly cult mood, I'm like, you know what? Only a tape will do right now. I just want to hear that hiss. I want to hear that obscure sound, you know. And also I've got a few things like particularly demos is really good medium for very obscure releases. You know, I've got a few like I've got the made in one copy the very first Pantheist demo ever, unreleased obviously. It was called Dying Millennium, you know, and I have the early version of that, not even the actual official version of the unofficial demo. We're talking about the pre-version of that, and I have that on tape, and I only have one tape of that. I never made a copy or anything. And occasionally here, just you know, when you want to remind yourself of 25 years ago, what the hell was I doing then? You put it on. I have there among others a weird cover of Skepticism of the March and the Stream of Skepticism, but only played on the keyboard, so with a very bad synthetic guitar sound. Like
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just interesting to hear. So yeah, no, I've got tapes, I've got vinyl. Vinyl is great because it's big and you can sit there with the artwork and the lyrics. And man, my eyesight gets worse with the years. So CDs, I can't read the text anymore. You know what I mean? It's not great. Vinyl is much better for lyrics and credits, and if you want to read liner notes and things like that. Yes, CDs are practical, so I've got a lot of them tapes, and yes, streaming because I drive a lot. I listen a lot of music while I'm driving, and that's where I have a subscription on Apple Music where I put my whole library. So even the stuff that's not actually released on Apple Music, you can actually put on iTunes your own. Like I have Hierophant demos and shit like
Oh
that.
wow.
Yeah, put them all there so I can listen to them wherever I am. You know, so I can just drive and just listen to that stuff. So yeah,
If I remember correctly, do you own the vinyl of the Angelic Process Weighing Souls with Sand?
correct. I
Yeah,
do.
because I don't know if you remember correctly, but when we last spoke, I said, "Have you ever heard of Angelic Process?" And you were like, "Who the hell are they?" And I got you to listen to the album, and that was my one gift to you.
You
in my life.
totally got me into them, man. Yeah, I remember you, and you need to get the credits for that because you recommended them to me. Yeah, it's quite such a unique sound, especially the second one I have. I have the first one as well on CD, but the second one is their masterpiece. I think
I agree. You
uh,
want about Coma Wearing? The first album
Coma
is
Wearing, yeah, the first, but how's the
what
second one
Weighing Souls
called?
with Sand. Oh no, what?
Thank
Sorry.
you.
Yeah,
Weighing Souls in Sand. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yes. And so that's such an amazing, and just especially having it on vinyl and seeing all that sort of that painting. It's such a melancholy image, you know, with that sort of figure there with the
Like
angels.
the angel sort of. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
very jealous of you. I mean, I own the
Yeah.
CD,
Mm.
which I've had for many, many years. I'll never get rid of that CD. I remember my mum got me that CD, so I'm like, thanks,
Oh,
mum.
really?
Yeah.
Great.
Um,
Does she like it? Probably not.
uh, I think she would have hated it.
Fair enough.
That's the thing. That's what I was going to ask earlier. You were
Yeah.
saying Cheryl likes the more brutal stuff. Does she like Pantheist? Does she like your music?
She did actually, to be fair, yeah, because and you know, like when we got together and she says, "Oh, actually, I'm a fan." I was like, "Ah, yeah, you said that to please me," and she actually provided evidence. She had, you know, at the time you had this digital diaries, how you should call that. People were just doing the diary online. I forgot how the website is called.
Oh, like blogger, like when they vlog, not vlog, where they just online journals or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was like an online blog, but basically a personal journal. I
Hmm.
forgot. I had an account on it myself as well. And she actually showed me an entry of that was dated before she met me, where she said, "Oh, the Pantheist demo, you know, oh, that sounds godlike, you know." So yeah, she had evidence there that she actually liked. And I think what appealed to her is the whole atmosphere, the whole, and that I think that has also inspired her in her art, doing the artwork and all that. You know, the whole sacral thing, the priest church
Yeah.
connotations, the sort of all stuff that she finds it very sort of stimulating for art. So yeah.
Speaking of like the church and stuff, like as I said in the beginning of the show, I got to see you guys in Belgium. Me and my partner came over, and yeah, you on stage are a very different man.
Am I?
You're very, it's weird. You go from being very possessed to being really nice. You're like, you look almost insane with your church, your church get up and you're doing your music. And then you stop me like, hey guys, how are you? You go into like normal Kostas mode. And then it's like back to the music. At some points we look almost psychotic. This is a good thing. I'm not saying, I'm not being horrible, but it's like, do
No,
you
I like that.
realize that you go into that zone when you're doing the music?
That's a very good question, Tom. Yeah, I mean, and others have said that actually in the review say like how you know it's a some I think we played in Prague, and someone wrote in the review something along the lines of what you just said. Or like, well, there's all such a like nice gentleman, and then like on stage, it's like, what the fuck. But yeah, to be honest, I try to, well, I don't try to. I just get into character, because when you're on stage, you kind of need to a little bit lose yourself, and that's what I'm doing. And that music is escapism at the end of the day, right? So I've got a certain the way I see it, I've got my role on stage. I have my thoughts that are led at the moment by the character that I'm playing, which is that sort of slightly crazy, demented priest. And I act the way that a priest will, a bit like an actor doing in a movie, I guess, uh, just the way that priest. And yes, you start with the intention to act, but then you kind of, because the music, is hypnotic and gets you in the zone, you kind of end up becoming the character. So at the end of the song, you kind of awake from the trance. It does work a little bit like that. So yeah, it does transform, I think, music, and I think the others probably, especially Linda now, she also gets into that. She's a bit the antithesis, if you like, the more angelic sort of character on stage, while I'm the evil priest type of thing.
I was
Um,
going to bring up
yeah,
Linda actually. She was going to be a part of this because yeah, she's a big part. Well, okay, not no, she is. She's a big part now because
she is.
that
Yeah,
version of Be Here was incredible. And please somehow record it. I don't know if you're going to, but please do. But it was magical. And she's really kind of added something like an element to music. And I was listening earlier. I think the song's called, is it Wilderness, the song? And I was like, has he got her in this as well and not credited her? But I was like, because I looked, I was because I know she was in Kings Must Die. Like,
yeah.
was that her first appearance?
It was literally, yeah, the first appearance that she did, and it's quite on the actual audio version. Obviously, she's a little bit still in the background. And actually, when we played this track live, and we played it at the gig you heard us playing,
Hmm.
she has much more presence, does much more parts than she does on the recording. But that was the first recording that she was on. Yes, she's not a wilderness. I've used to use before she came on board samples of soprano samples, so
Uh,
I hear that on some of the previous albums, but it's not her. It's just a sample basically.
that's me, like trying to think I found something. I was like, I found a secret. No, I haven't. Just samples. Okay, but for such a small lass, because she's quite a small thing, she's got such a big presence. And so, come on in. Let's talk about. She's got. I'm guessing it's due to her husband with her weird second name. Is it Linda Dumitru? Something
That's
like that.
correct. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Funnily enough, her husband walked past us when we were waiting to go in the gig, and I said to Charlie, my partner, I was like, "That's her husband." And Charlie looked at me like, "Are you stalking them?" I was like, "No, I just know that's her husband. I saw the picture." And anyway, that made me sound bad. But yeah, so talk to me about Linda. How did she come across? How did you come across her, and how has she been incorporated into your band? I know it helps
Mhm.
because she also lives locally to you, doesn't she? So
She
that
does. Yes, she's from Cardiff as well. Yeah, yeah. It's an interesting story actually because like I said earlier, I sort of started rebuilding the band here in Cardiff again after this year, and my first sort of thought was like, I want a band that is local, and for me that's the most important thing than having the most talented people, or the most sort of people that play in famous bands or what. I don't care about that. I just want cool musicians that have a good attitude. Yes, of course, they understand the music and can put the right feeling in it. But the most important thing is that they are present and they can you know, give themselves to the band. So we started building up the band, and our drummer Fanel, he's Romanian, so and he's the only, well, before Linda came, I guess, he's the only extrovert in the band.
extra. Okay.
Me, Matt, and Atanas are not really the most extrovert people. We just like after most of the days I'm just sitting at home with my cats and shell, and we're chilling, whatever. But Fanel's more outgoing person, going out, making connections and all that. So it's quite handy to have that in the band as well, of course. Um, all honestly, for maybe, I'm not exaggerating, because one of the tracks we're working on now is 20 years in the works. And I remember I was recording the demo on MIDI 20 years ago and thinking to myself, it would be so great to have an opera voice. And I guess the way I had it in my head, it was just like, what Linda is doing now, basically, except that she does it in a more real sort of way, because in your head, you can never approximate how someone actually sounds in reality. So I was dreaming to always have like a classically trained vocalist in the band, and a lot of the composition I was parking and delaying the whole time because I didn't have the right vocalist to sing them. So what happens? I mentioned to Fanel at some point. I said, "Oh, you know what? For many years I've been thinking of getting yeah, maybe a female soprano or whatever in the band, someone like that, you know. And he's like, oh, I'll keep an eye on that. I say, yeah, sure. I thought, yeah, whatever. A week later, he's like, oh, I contacted this person and she responded. Her name is Linda. I'm like, oh. Um, and it's like, what happened? Basically, he just went there. When I said, you know, classically trained vocalist, he just went online and searched for classically trained vocalists in the area and just found her. And he saw the surname Dumitru, as you said yourself, the Romanian surname, him being Romanian, he thought, oh, that's easy to connect then, isn't it? So she's Romanian, I'm Romanian. So he sent a message in Romanian, uh, to which reply, sorry, but actually, you know, I'm not Romanian, I'm Irish. My husband, however, is Romanian. Um, but basically, guess what? She was like, oh man, I always wanted to do some crossover stuff, you know. I love to do metal music. I'm getting bored of singing the whole time Ave Maria and
Yeah.
classical shit and things like that, you know. And she does it for the living, obviously, and she's very good at it. But she really wanted to stretch herself with something that is outside of classical music, especially rock metal music. That's her thing, really. And so she said, "Yeah, I'll come to some rehearsals." So we started talking, doing rehearsals. It was, I mean, a gradual process. It went very quick in the beginning, in the way how quickly Fanel got in touch with her. But then it took many months to integrate her in the band, because I was also a bit afraid what people would say. You know, a band people are used to a certain sound, I guess, for 20 years or 25 now. And then suddenly you get a vocalist who sounds completely different, you know. So um, we had to think how we're going to integrate it slowly in the band. But because she has such a great attitude, she's a professional as well. So she can arrange things and write scores, but also she has a good ear. She understands the music. So she got quicker than we thought into the whole thing and integrated herself into the band. So before you know it, yeah, now she's, you mentioned herself, she's like yourself, she's an important element of the band, a really crucial element of the band. And we kind of built the new compositions around her voice, because she's such a presence, that voice, that you can't just ignore it. You know, you can't just have it in the background. You need to build sort of tracks around it. So the compositions that I wanted to do for all these years, but didn't have the right vocal as well, I'm doing them now. So on the next album, I'm just gonna go full on with that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's how she came about. And yeah, except that despite her Romanian surname, she's actually Irish and proud to be Irish. So there you go.
So she's going to be sticking around like for the foreseeable future then.
She's a, yeah, permanent band member like the rest of us. So yeah, she has a say in everything. She comes to all rehearsals. She makes suggestions for arrangements, changes the wording of the lyrics sometimes, because you need to do that if you sing them, right? You
Yeah, yeah.
um, yeah, she's now an important band of the band. Yeah, she's here to stay. Absolutely.
I was going to say, like, because with someone, she's got a very powerful voice and she can do many things. Like, there would be the concern of her being going over the music, but like when I saw it, like it just fits really well. And also, are you okay? Can you still hear me? Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I can hear you. Yeah, yeah, go on.
No. Um, and also, sorry for those of you who can't see, I can see Kostas on a video, and he just his head was going around like a fly then, and I was thinking, what's going on? Have we lost connection? But no, I'll carry on. Yeah, and the other thing, your voices actually work really well because
I'm
you have
glad
a
to hear
very
it.
distinctive voice. I don't know if you realize it, but you do. And I still don't know how you can growl after all this time, how you haven't messed up your throat. But your clean vocal style is very unique and very different, and it works. It works, and all of it kind of comes together. And I'm not kissing your ass. I'm being honest.
No,
Like
thank you for that.
it's yeah, it all comes together. And the one thing I noticed from watching the videos and seeing you live is that you all seem to enjoy it, which some bands they're just going through the motions, like, oh, we're up, we're playing this, but you clearly you're having fun, and you go from being your possessed self to being this lovely guy that wants to get off and have a beer or something. And it's like you've got the band, they're all just, you look like you all get on and that it's not a chore. Is that right to say?
Totally. Yeah, 100%. I mean, yeah, we're putting the funny funeral, like you say. It's just, you know, when you play that sort of melancholy music, and I think the music is quite melancholic and sad and all that, and it has like dark lyrics. But, you know, that's really where all these feelings go. You know, for me, it's like a way of sublimating all this sort of negativity. But I'm not a negative person, you know. I know, you know, it goes probably against the grain here, because I hear so many times from people, especially DSPM genres and all that weird stuff. Ah, yeah, I'm slitting my wrists and this, and I like, man, I can't identify with that sort of stuff. You know, I don't think you should And I was getting some message. I remember with Amartya, someone was sending me a message. Oh, I want to slit my wrist, like listening to your music. Like, don't do that, man. That's not cool. I'm not really a fan of that sort of. The music is there to enjoy, and even though the music itself is sad and negative, whatever, but actually the reason we listen to it is not because we want to get depressed, but we actually get happy by listening to the sad music. You know what I mean? In the
Yeah, of
same,
course.
yeah, in the same way that other people get happy by listening to happy music, but I want to vomit when I listen to it. Um, but yeah, for them it's exactly the opposite, right? It's just that's how our brains are wired. So there's no point acting all this. And I appreciate it's all part of the genre a little bit, and sometimes people play that a little bit, like, "Oh, I'm so depressed," etc. But you know what? I work in my day-to-day life with depressed people, and I have to say I don't really think that you should be striving to, to appropriate that sort of behavior unless you genuinely have it or whatever you feel it. But it's not something to strive for or to try to be like. It's just I don't find that cool. So yeah, I'm just relative, and I think everyone in the band. We of course like we want to be cool as well. We don't want to be coming across too much, happy, like a happy-go-lucky, whatever. But at the same time, we need to be ourselves. We just don't want to be that sort of played character in our daily life. So yeah, just the music, takes all this negativity, uh, so pulls it away, so that in our day-to-day lives we can actually have happy and fulfilled. I will not say normally. You see, I steer always very clear from, because I actually find it an insult. I don't think I like to be called normal. I don't think normal is a great thing to be called, because I think normal is boring.
I
But
was going to say normal just represents boring. Oh, you're normal. Oh,
yeah.
go away then.
Well, yeah, it's just the gray middle. It doesn't really exist anymore. It's the gray middle area, it's just like the average person. What is the average person, But yeah, I just think you just need to be authentic. The music itself is authentic because that's it's a genuine expression. That's how it comes out. So I don't need to play a particular role other than the one that I play on stage, because that's who I become when I sort of play that music. And perhaps in the studio, when I get really concentrated, I get in the zone, and I get also a bit funny. But generally speaking, outside of that is done. There's no point me acting all weird and bizarre to people just to show how dark I am or whatever. I just don't have any need for that. And quite frankly, I think all in the band are probably the same. And you know what? Also, we're also all middle aged now. Most of us anyway, not all of us. The guitarist could be my son. But we're all sort of in a more mature age. Let's put it this way. And it's, at that point, you don't. It's just there's no much desire to fuck about, with that sort of like trying to be this and try. You just want to live your life and be cool without too much complications. So yes, that's where we are at the moment at this stage.
It's funny you say that because I once was going to do, I'm not going to say the name of the band, but I was going to do an interview with a band, and we were in the same situation as what me and you are in right now. And they started talking like as if they were like not normal. Not That's okay. Not, it was like they were speaking in riddles to me. And it was like, okay, so where did you start music? Well, the abyss of life. It all began. And I just thought, and in the end, I said, fuck this. And I gave up because with my interviews, I want to see, like you're giving me the real Kostas. That's kind of what I look for. And yeah, I know there's going to be people out there that want to see the character as whatnot, but like it wound me up to like, like beyond belief. And
Imagine that, yes.
yeah, and this is quite a high respected band. And I was just like, wow, I got you on the show. Wow, I don't want you on the show. I was like, goodbye.
Yeah,
um,
no, fair enough. I mean, yeah, I don't really know. I'm just trying to think of the years of the people that I met. I haven't met luckily many people that would try it. Whenever I met people who were a bit more downbeat and all that, it's because that was just part of a personality, which is fair enough. But that sort of acting, trying to be someone else, I don't know. Maybe when you're 15, 20, you do that, but not surely not like once you mature as a person, you just want to make cool music, and just put up a bit of a show around it, but you still are the person that you are. And by that stage, you have more confidence in who you have become as a person. So for me, when people are acting like that, it's almost like a sign of lack of self-confidence, and they don't really
no,
know
it's true. You're right.
who they are, or maybe they don't want to be seen as who they truly are and try to be someone else. I don't know. I don't feel any need of doing that, to be honest.
You say you work with depressed people. Have you ever taken? I'm not going to ask you what your job is, but have you ever taken any situations from work and put it into music, like a story or anything, like anything that's happened within regards to your job?
Yeah, I mean, I said depressed, not just depressed people with mental health issues
Hmm.
and all sorts of. Um, but yeah, look, I mean, everything is a possible inspiration for me, and that includes work because my work involves working with people, and yes, people, might sort of have particular, very often particular issues or experiencing problems, etc. Um, and that's you learn from that. It's interesting. It's all about being curious for me when you write lyrics, curious about life, nature, or people, whatever. That's where you get inspiration from. So just opening yourself up for it, and yeah, you can get your inspiration anywhere from work, from at home, from having a bath, from walking in nature,
Having a
from
bath.
anything. You can just literally have you know, yeah. I mean, I mentioned that as a sort of to joke, as a, to as a joke now, but I actually remember Pim, Pim Blankenstein
Yeah,
from
yeah, yeah.
We Kim Trist. He was saying like one of the lyrics that he wrote from for Klaus. It was like him being in bath, and then he had this image of whatever it was floating, whatever. I think it was something like that. So, but that kind of shows, and if you write lyrics, you just open yourself up for situations, and then you get like suddenly some idea. I mean, some of the lyrics for the new album, Cheryl and I went to Panama. That's the most unlikely place for doom lyrics, right?
Wow.
Yeah, in early sort of last year, and we sort of there in the jungle. Suddenly, I had a conversation with a tour guide, who, by the way, plays in a doom band himself. So that was
Nice.
interesting. Hails Ricardo, if you watch this podcast, by the way. Um, yeah, and sort of we had this conversation about life and death and all that, and then suddenly something clicked. And I was like, because I had a bit of a writer's block at that stage, and then suddenly that was the onset of the lyrics for the album that we're working on now. Suddenly, I just knew what the first lyric would be about, and from that came the rest as well, one after the other. So, yeah, you can get your inspiration from everything. So absolutely.
So you're talking about you working on a new album. Like how long before? Is it still in the early stages?
Well, we've recorded one track already. Us improperly in the studio is finished. So we decided to kind of, because we self-recorded ourselves. So for many years, and I'm trying going back to when we last spoke, that was 2014. So we had done the self-titled album in 2011, which was the last album we actually recorded in a proper professional studio, if you like, with Greg Chandler from
Yeah, yeah.
Esoteric. And since then we did a few albums, but we kind of did them mostly at home and engineered by people in the band, and Greg was just doing the mastering and all that. And this time, for the first time since 2011, we went back in the studio. We found a very cool local studio here. That's where the Drowning record as well. You might know them, the Welsh band. Um,
Yeah, didn't the guitarist recently pass away?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
very sad story there. We play with them in a few weeks' time. That's actually the comeback gig, the first gig without the original
It
guitarist,
was
Mike.
Mike, right? Mike,
Yeah,
his name?
yeah,
Yeah.
Mike. Yeah, without my lovely guy. Yeah, rest in peace, Mike. But we found this local studio where we sort of record again in Cardiff. Everything is local. You see, amazing.
Yeah.
Um, and you know what the track, we recorded sounds absolutely amazing. I mean, the sound is phenomenally good. So we decided, okay, what we do is we save money. Then we go in, whenever we have money, we go in the studio. We record one or two more tracks, and then until we have the whole album out. The compositions are all made. It's 6 tracks. I can reveal that, of which we've recorded one in the studio, and we practiced another. We're practicing another two, and actually we played two live because on our anniversary gig we unveiled two of them live already. Um, so yeah, we're a bit like halfway through, if you like, in terms of working on the tracks and everything. But I hope that by early next year or something we'll have recorded them, and then we'll see how we release them.
Sorry, say how many tracks again? Because in my head you said 86. And I was like, that's a lot. That's a lot of songs.
86, that would be a lifetime of Pantheist tracks, my friend. No, considering the length, and they will still be very long, by the way. 6 tracks there are.
6 tracks. Okay.
Yeah, 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 with an average length of anything between 10 to 15 minutes. So yes,
What's the longest song you've done?
that is definitely Strange Times from Closer to God, which is 24 minutes.
Yeah, it's the first song, isn't it? On
It's the
the
first. Yeah.
yeah, I was listening to it earlier, and there's a section in the middle of it which I just got totally lost in. It's the I don't know what to call it. In my mind, it's like an interlude. You do like it's that, and I just sat there and I was listening to it on my headphones, and I turned around to my partner and I was nearly crying. There was no singing, no nothing, and I was like, "My God, what the hell? Like, why? What's happening to me here?" And then you go into a heavier part, but I was like, "Oh fuck!" Like, because it's been a while since I've actually like had that. I don't even know what it was. Like, it just something you had done. And also, I'll point out your solo stuff does that to me as well. Your solo music is beautiful.
Oh, that's lovely to hear, man. Thank you. Yeah.
I It shouldn't be that nice. It really is really nice.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's a bit much more, even though it's ironically because the music itself is more accessible upon this, but it's much more obscure in the sense that it hasn't really found an audience that you. I mean, it's generally the fans of Pantheist that listen to it as
Yeah,
well,
yeah, yeah.
basically, because I haven't really, I don't know how to market it to anyone because that's really my world, those are the people that I know. So that's the people that I'll promote it to. But yeah, I'm glad you like it. The middle bit, I mean, of Strange Times, going back to this track, is uh, yeah, we played it live, by the way, as well, in that sort of recording of Kings Must Die. There's a version, a live version of this track as well, and we did that middle section there as well. Um, and it has this sort of floating guitar, doesn't it? From
Hmm.
Jeremy does it. Jeremy Lewis from Mesmer, he does the guitar. Then it just has that really, almost like an ambient Pink Floyd sound. And I think the combination of that with the organ, and then there's some flute from Andre
That's
from
right.
Clouds,
Yeah,
and just the way everything comes together, it just works so beautifully. And it's such a long part that just like very serene without any metal elements. That means that when the metal element comes later, hits quite hard, which I think works quite well. And by the way, sort of, I did a little sort of what's the word, a reel on Instagram. As you do, because we do the our own promotion anyway, so we have to constantly market what we're doing because nobody else will otherwise. So, and so we did a sort of little reel of that gig in Huddersfield Town Hall, playing this particular track when the heavy part comes after the part you just mentioned. And that reel went viral, man. It's unbelievable. It still delivers. It's like it has 11,000 likes or something like that, like 130,000 views. And just the thing, I just laugh because it's a 24-minute track of Funeral Doom. And I think I wrote something along the lines, oh, like a point of view, just playing like with a massive pipe organ, but nobody cares because your genre is too obscure or something like that. And then suddenly I get all these thousands of people, which is very ironic, isn't it? Going viral with something like that. But there you go.
so have you found it's helped, like you say, it's gone viral and stuff? Has it helped open people's eyes up to like Pantheist then? Have you got more people interested in your music now? Or was it just like a random real thing? Okay, loads of people have watched it and it's like, that's cool, but no more have come to the band, or is it the other way around?
Yeah, I mean, talking about virality is a funny thing. I don't think a band should be trying to go viral. If it happens by accident, as it happened now, then it's great. But I don't think that's the goal of making music because you can go. First of all, you don't have any control about it when you can go viral with the most stupid. I mean, I've seen some of the most weird videos at other bands. I mean, Phantom Droid, if they're watching it here, hey guys. Um, they went viral on Instagram because there's a weird video that they posted of, oh, when you leave your bassist and your drummer too long by themselves. It's just like a sort of a bit of a jam, and the bassist on his knees, and then the jamming together with the drum, and that has gone crazy. I think it has some like 27,000 likes last time I
Wow.
checked it. So it's a moment. That's what virality is, because social media nowadays is about people you need to get people's attention, and you do that by little moments that draw people's attention, and it's such a little moment that people go, oh, that's weird or interesting or funny or whatever. But the point is, they don't necessarily do it because they like your music. It's because they like that particular clip. That's why they're
Yeah.
attached to it. Having said that, from this clip that I did, I don't know about the other bands, but for this band, this particular clip has led to over 1,000 new followers on Instagram. People following the page just because they like that reel. And some of them, I see them now starting shyly liking other posts, getting involved in conversation. So you make some fans of it, but it's not the sort of thing a sort of thing goes viral and then you are famous. It doesn't work like that. It just opens up for potentially for more people. But then the work is still yours, isn't it? The onus is on the band to keep
That's
them
true.
engaged and draw them into your community, because otherwise they would disengage again. So yeah, that's how it goes.
So who's doing that? Is it just you? Are you the only one that's doing all the social media stuff, or is it a collaboration of you and others in the band?
So the majority of that, well, the actual posting is me. Yes, 100% of it. So the rest of the band sometimes help with material. They give me videos, like Fanel's son TB. He does a lot of great work. Like, he does a lot of videos lately. He does also a lot of our flyers nowadays. A lot of that sort of stuff. Um, and sort of, so they contribute material, ideas, and that sort of stuff. We do sometimes videos together at rehearsal or whatever. But yeah, I'm the sort of person posting them, so I need to constantly think. Well, I don't need to, I guess, but I have that thing that if I don't do it, because we don't have a label or anything else, that if we don't do it, then we're gonna do it. About marketing stuff, and it's such a world, and easily sort of forgotten sort of thing, isn't it? If you,
Yeah,
I
it's true.
noticed when we moved the band from London to Wales, for instance, I mentioned earlier, you asked where do you play a lot of gigs. Well, I mentioned Wales and around here, up north, Yorkshire and all that. Maybe Plymouth, we will play there a few gigs, and every time we have a great audience. But I haven't mentioned London. Which was quite interesting, because I do feel London forgot us. Once we moved out of there, we don't exist anymore for London and the scene there. So that kind of shows, you need to constantly be on in people's, like they say, now, out of sight, out of mind. That sort of thing. If sort of people don't see you, they just forget about you, and that's why social media is there, so you can keep banging on until you annoy people enough so they can actually take note of you. And then either they're gonna get really angry and then disengage, which is cool because they were never meant to be, or they're gonna say, "Oh, I like this. I want more of that," and then you're gonna keep entertaining them, and that's how it goes, I think.
So speaking of entertaining people, you were talking before we went on the before we recorded this that because of course you said 25 years anniversary, you're putting stuff up on it's Facebook, isn't it? You're putting all these stories up.
I am, yes.
So okay, I want you to explain again because you explained it really well earlier. So please explain again. So is it 25 stories or yeah, I'll let you do the talking.
Yeah, so the band started the 1st of January 2000. I mean, I've decided because I started by myself. Um, so I recorded then a tape, was talking earlier about tapes, weren't we? So I started by recording everything onto a tape, and
So was it just you then? Were you Pantheist?
yeah, well, it was yes and no. It was me and Nicholas, actually, the guitarist Nicholas. We kind of, I'm the one who decided to start the band and chose a name and everything. But we're actually jamming with Nicholas together at that stage, and it was like mostly ambient tracks that I was doing. But there's a few compositions in that Die Millennium demo that he actually contributed. He played stuff on guitar, and then I sort of transcribed them on keyboards. Um, so in theory, it's me and Nicholas, but I was sort of the driving force, if you like. So it started in 2000. We're now 2025, so the band exists for 25 years. And I keep saying that because I find it so hard to believe myself. I'm thinking, bloody hell, I feel so old, every time I talk about that. But it is the reality, and I have to face it. Yeah. So and because of that, I thought let's do a few special things. So one of the special things is do 25 stories throughout the whole year, so spread throughout the year on our social media about aspects of the band, highlighting particular eras of the band, particular things that happened, but then giving it sort of perhaps a bit more insight around the things that people don't know, pictures that people haven't seen that are very obscure, or stories that I've never spoken about, that sort of stuff. So I think I'm now at story number 11. The last one was about the self-titled album, where I posted some dodgy pictures of us recording the grand piano with my bizarre haircut, very sort of big hair I had at the time. Um, and just weird antics in the studio there that I don't think has been posted before. So yeah, it's a little bit like that. So throughout the year, I'm gonna post, and I'm gonna get to story 25 probably at some point by the end of December, where we have told 25 stories to celebrate, or as I say, commiserate 25 years of existence of Pantheist.
Could you? I suppose maybe it's unless you're already gonna do it. Could you not do like a documentary on Pantheist? like 25 years. I don't know if you've recorded like video random backstage stuff. Like, is there no way you could do like a documentary, like you're doing these stories on Facebook? Is there no way you could do like just a half-hour documentary about the origins or and how where you are now? Is it possible?
Yeah, I mean, you give me ideas here. um, well, listen, I mean, if a documentary maker, I know, for instance, the Skeptics did theirs, didn't they? But I think when they did theirs, they had even more history. It was 30 years, I think. Um, and
25 years is nothing to be snubbed at, though. You know?
Yeah, it is a period of time, isn't it? And yeah, there is. I guess if you take all the footage together, you can probably put some together, but you need a competent person to put it all properly together. I'll be very up for telling the story. I just always assumed, like that, and that's not sort of. I mean, that's genuinely how I feel. It's not like me trying to be too modest or something, but I always feel. Do people really care enough about this for to have something like that, to document it? If they do, I'm happy to do it. But I always think, well, as long as I keep releasing music, that's my sort of priorities, and to keep doing that, to keep going. One thing we do, and will mention that, and actually I mentioned to you exclusively now. So there you go. You
Oh,
can have the to take the exclusivity of me unveiling this information. Is that we are actually working with a label with, and I'm sure I can say that will not mind, Ardua Music, to release our some sort of 25-year anniversary release for this year, which will consist of sort of rarities and sort of alternative versions and things like that of Pantheist. And perhaps that's my own way of documenting things, more through alternative obscure recordings and that sort of stuff. So from the beginning of the history until now, basically, I try to put things together so that it flows like a story from the
yeah.
very early days, from the dying millennium to some songs that are still new and nobody has heard them because they're too new. Um, yeah, and that's what I'm doing. So I don't know about an actual documentary, but yeah, you know what? Any videographers watching this and getting inspired, get in touch, and then we can discuss that.
I suppose the reason I said it is because I love documentaries, and I know a lot of people do. I even like band documentaries. Like one of my favorite one is the Cannibal Corpse one because you get to see behind what they're like. The one they did, and although it was low budget, the Paradise Lost one was great as well
Oh, the
because
original one, right? From where Nick Holmes is like sort of punching the
yeah,
"Where's your God now?" and he's actually
yeah.
punching God. That's brilliant stuff. Yes.
It is great. Yeah, if someone is listening or watching, you need to do this, if only just for me. Just do it for me.
Do it for Tom. Come on, people. Yes, yeah. I mean, yeah, we do have a lot of interesting stories to be fair. If someone sits with me, they can probably hear like a story or two from, because 25 years, you said it yourself, and not just 25 years, but also a band that was based in Belgium and then moved to England and now moved to Wales. So, there's all that weird sort of
And
history.
many band members.
Oh, yeah, like
You know,
25 or whatever. I lost the count at some point, or 20, whatever it is. Yeah.
would Pantheist be Pantheist without you?
No, I don't think so. I'm sort of the only constant. There needs to be a constant in every band, isn't it? So, and I'm the constant. Um,
Costas the Constant.
yeah, Kostas the constant, pretty much. Well, actually, Konstantinos, my full name, it comes
Oh,
from Latin constans, which is basically, yeah, a constant, like the reliable one. That's what it means, basically.
well,
So
there you go then.
there you go. Someone needs to do it, right? So yeah, yeah. No, I don't think it will exist. I mean, I've put too much of my soul and personality into this band for it to exist without. It would be weird, I would. It's not that I would, if once I lose total interest, if someone else really wants to continue it, I'm not sure I will fight them or anything. But I'll be like, "Well, you cannot really replicate that. I'm just too. It's too much of my personalities on here, and that's every personality is different and unique, and to take that away, you're just gonna change the character too much, in my opinion.
No, it's true. I mean, I put in my little notes here. I ask if Costas thinks Pantheist is his baby. That's kind of was what I was going to ask. I was like, because I literally did just ask you that, like, how would it be without you? And you pretty much answered that question. It wouldn't be Pantheist without you. And that's not being big headed. It's true. You have been the constant from day one.
I think you just have to acknowledge sometimes, because you can be sort of a bit sort of more what's the word, like modest in your views the first 3 or 5 years of the band or 10, but if you're running it for 25 years and you are the only constant, you just have to own it. At some point, say, "Oh, it is what it is. So yeah.
No, it's true. You were saying earlier about we were talking about like character on stage, and some people have characters. I come across a thing earlier where it was describing all the bands you were in, and underneath it put Kostas. Please say your second name again because you know I say it wrong.
Panayotou.
Kostas Paniotou. He it says plays keyboard, blah 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 blah, and underneath put as Kostas, and I was thinking as Kostas, and I was like, okay, and I wanted to like, have you had any pseudonyms in other bands where you've called yourself something different?
Well, actually, no. Funnily enough, the only time I used the pseudonym is in the demo of Pantheist, where for some reason I call myself Pan. You know.
Pan. Oh, Pan. Yeah, I
Yeah.
suppose. There you go.
Yeah, which is still related to my surname anyway, more than anything else. But yeah, no, it was always, yeah, it's funny seeing when people say Kostas Panagiotis Kostas. Well, yeah, okay, sometimes I just credit as Kostas because Panagiotis is not a very sexy surname and quite long to pronounce and all that. But nowadays, I just write full on the names of all the band members. But there was a time it was like Kostas, Andy, Mark, Ilya, nowadays, I just write the full name. I think why not? It doesn't matter anyway.
No, it's you at the end of the day. It's
Well, yes, exactly.
So what's so we got the you got the new album being made. You're doing your 25 year stories. So you're on 11. So you've got 14 left. Is it 14?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
cool.
still a lot of work to do. You remind me. Yes,
You got a lot of memories to bring up, man.
lots of memories to bring up.
Oh, sorry. Before I go on to that, I did a thing, because the world is full on AI now. Um, I did the Google and I typed in, who is Pantheist, and it comes up. It says like Panthiest is a band led by you, and they're influenced by funeral doom, progressive rock, classical music, ambient sounds. Their music incorporates elements from bands Anathema or Anathema, however they're called, King Crimson, Pink Floyd, and Skepticism. And I was
Interesting.
thinking, okay, I'll ask him what he thinks of that. But the
Yeah.
one thing that made me laugh is that a few lines down, it says there are Greek ethnic influences. And I was thinking, where? So am I wrong? Like,
Well, actually, there's it's quite accurate. Well, it's a funny way of putting it. I mean, there's other influences as well, but I like it that Pink Floyd meets skepticism. That sounds great. Maybe I should use that for my marketing. There is actually Greek ethnic influence. It's actually AI is right on that. Particularly in the album Journey Through Lands Unknown, there's a part that is directly influenced by the Greek Rebetika music. I used to play Greek ethnic music myself, Rebetika
okay.
music. That's how I started playing music before I went into more harder genres, if you like. And actually, yes, in this album in particular, there's so on the first album, Don't Mourn, the track, for instance,
Yeah.
it actually has Greek instrumentation in the break. It has a baglamas, it has an oud, some acoustic guitar. So yeah, the influences are there. Yeah, they're subtle, but they're there.
Okay. So you would say that AI knows what Pantheist is then?
I'm surprised. It seems to do, yes. Yeah, I mean, it's also a bit of a caricature, isn't it? But I do really like that Pink Floyd meets skepticism. I feel I should do something with that. So thanks for bringing it up.
That's fine. Let's go for it. Okay. Let me just get to my bits here. Give me one moment. I'll edit this bit out as I'm looking. Um, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Kings Must Die. When I saw you live, there was a
Much.
massive like cheer when you said you were going to play that song. I'll be honest with you, music, I've not I kind of lost touch with a lot of music for a while, and I've been kind of coming back into it. And I was not mega aware of this song. And I was still living in Pantheist past, I'll be honest.
Mm.
And I was like, hang on, there's a massive cheer here. Like, is this like their biggest song or something? And then you played it, and I was like, fuck me. All right then. And then I watched it on YouTube, which I think it sounds better live. I'm not going to lie, but that's because there's a lot of emotion going into what's going on.
Great, yeah.
Um, and but so what is it about this song? I read about it, and there was a big. It may not have been the description of what you said the song was about, but you put under that COVID was a test that we failed. You said that in the interview that and I was like, that isn't what the song was about. You were about how the Queen had died and all these middle class people were upset. and it's like, but these are posh people. Like, why? Um, if I'm getting this wrong, please tell me, Tom, you're wrong. Shut up. It's actually about this. But I'm just going by what I can remember, what I read.
No, no, definitely you're definitely on the right track. So I mean, the album before that was Closer to God. I had sort of that was more the COVID album, if you like, because we made it at the pandemic, and it's really about isolation and about sort of the whole idea, and also the misanthropy of watching people like acting all hysterically, like buying toilet paper and
Oh
shit,
yeah, and bread.
all that weird stuff happening. I think that was Strange Times is about. Um, yeah, Kings Must Die was, and I don't actually often get political, and I actually ban political discourse from my group, Pantheistic Ramblings as well, because there's too much toxicity around as soon as you start.
So it's you that runs that. You run the Panther.
Yeah, yeah, I started the group, but now a lot of people are posting there, so it's just no, it's very open for everyone to participate and contribute. It's just a community for fans and people that are just interested in generally sort of around doom metal or memes or
Yeah,
whatever, that sort of stuff. Yeah, but yeah, Kings Must Die was the only political song we've done so far, and the video clip makes it even more political, I think, because all these sort of images of from the Queen, I think it was from Queen Mother's funeral, the images we used actually, and all that,
I can imagine.
and then war, and then poor people, and you know what? It's a sort of thing you start working more and more, and again, it has to do probably with my work as well, and seeing all the inequality and all that, and then the Queen died, and everyone was phoning, and everyone was just getting hysterical about it, and I'm thinking, well. It's just next to you, people on the streets or dying, you just don't give a shit. And some billionaire sort of royal person dies, and then everyone is in tears. You know how weird the human psyche is, that sort of stuff. So, yeah, that was the main inspiration, I guess, that sort of dichotomy of, if you really want to help people or you want to care for people, where you could actually do a lot to make this world a better place, but instead you care about these personas, these sort of people that are out there acting like in a particular role, like as if they're the king and queen, but actually they don't have any political power or anything other than just showing off the diamond sort of crowns and
Yeah,
this and that.
crowns.
So yeah, the whole thing was inspired by that sort of what I found a very absurd sort of situation. And yes, the sentiment is probably I don't wish anyone to die, so don't take it literally. But the whole institution is to die, in my opinion. The whole sort of faux pretense of that some people are superior just because of the bloodlines or because they're sort of born in privilege and therefore you have to worship them and respect them like they're some sort of gods. And nah, no, it's not. I don't agree with that at all. So yeah, yeah, a bit of a political song, but we'll steer um, uh, uh, away from politics on our next album, I promise.
We'll see. You'll be like a whole like six
No,
songs
we'll
of
see by
politics.
then.
Ugh. Okay, so yeah, on that song, a gentleman called Jake Harding was part of it.
Jake, yep.
Jake, yeah. How did he become part of it?
Well, Jake and I were in a band called Landscape.
Oh, yeah, Landscape. Yeah, I know Landscape. Yeah,
If you ever heard them, so he was a singer in Landscape, and I love his voice. He's such a great vocalist. So I always had it in my head. I absolutely want him to sing in one of our songs, and it just happened when I was writing the song. I had his voice in my head. I was like, I can't think of anyone else to sing in than Jake, so I had to go ahead and ask him, and he did it, and it was great. I mean, he did an excellent job. Yeah, it was like we did 3 albums together in Landscape, and then he stepped down, and then Landscape finished when he stepped down. But I always wanted to do something more together, and that was a way of reaching out to him and getting and just doing something together and enjoying, and in the context of my music as well in Pantheist, some makes it even more proud to hear my music with his voice, that's
yeah,
quite
yeah.
special. So yeah.
Would you? I'm guessing you'd be open to do more with him then in the future if the opportunity arose.
Totally, yeah. I mean, I have to say we are now in the golden era of vocalists in Panthers. We've got Jake, we've got Linda. I mean, who would believe it? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, always up for collaboration. And actually, the more the years pass, the more I think, the more I want to do collaborate with others. Interesting stuff because interesting stuff comes out of I always try to give people some freedom as well, like when I sort of, okay, there's a template and an idea, but I also want to hear their own heart and soul, their own personality in the recording. So I would not have told Jake, do this or sing it like that. It was like more, I did a bit of a guide vocal and I said, you know what? that's my suggestion, but you do it your way. And if you even if you want to change the lyrics a bit to make them more suitable, you have the freedom to do that and all that. Yeah, and he delivered. He was amazing. And yeah, I want to do more of that for sure. I really like. I'm doing some. I probably cannot mention it yet. I'm doing some collaboration at the moment with a quite obscure underground artist who's posting in the Pantheistic Ramblings group. Hint, hint.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, so things like that, I'm always open for that. And like I said, as long as I'm not expected to take on the whole ownership, and because that's where you spend a lot of time. Like in Pantheist, it does take a lot of my time, of course. But if it's like someone else's vision and I come in there and I do my part, or if it's more like a 50-50 and it's clear what everyone is doing, and then we'll quickly come up with stuff. I don't like stuff that takes on forever. I don't want there's bands that work 10 years on, and I just couldn't do that. I'm sorry. I just like I either give 100% or nothing at all. There's nothing in the middle. So if we're gonna do a project together, I want the other person to be equally motivated as I am, and us to work together and go for it. So as long as there's that vibe there, okay, this is going somewhere. It's gonna be within a reasonable time. There's gonna be something coming out of that. Then yeah, going for it. I'm all up for it for sure.
Well, you say that about collaborating. Like I hope I'm not wrong with this. If I am, then I apologize. But you may not know this, but my best friend is a gentleman called Yegor Ostapenko,
Jaeger,
and
of course.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, my good Ukrainian brother. Like I love him to bits, and
Hail Yegor if you're watching this.
he will listen to this because he listens to every bloody show I do. But he also helps me do the flyers.
Yes.
So you do some work on one of his. He was making an EP.
Well,
Now
that's where I'm gonna have to call him out a little bit. Yegor, what happened to our tracks, man? I recorded two, yeah, on two of his tracks I did some keyboards, and they were really cool, quirky, progressive type of.
the album's great. Have you not heard it?
Um, yeah, I
He's
don't,
he
I'm
hasn't
not
released it
sure.
though. He hasn't released it because he was trying to get it to a label and nobody would have it and it pissed him off. Sorry, Yegor, of saying this, but I think it's
Yegor, just
brilliant.
release it yourself, man. That's what I'm doing since 2016. Go for it, find some small printing company, do a limited release, put it out. That's my advice to you anyway. So,
No, because it's funny, it'll be the only time that me and you, Mr. Costas, have helped on a record because I helped him with a guitar part on
well, there
the
you go. We're both together on the same record then. How awesome
yeah.
is it?
Well, he recorded my bit, you recorded your own bit. He just said, "Could you help with this?" And I showed him how to do the guitar bit, and he went and did it better. So I was like, "Fine."
Excellent.
But yeah, like I remember that, and I was like, Costas is on that. I need to talk to him about it. And I should have asked Yegor before because he knew I was doing the show, and I should have said, "Do you mind if I talk about it?" So sorry again, Yegor. I've spoke about it now, but get that
Well,
fucking
the
album
whole
out.
world
The
knows
whole
you.
world does know, and
Sorry,
it's a
Yegor.
really good record.
It's great, man. I really love the tracks. It's very quirky, very sort of individual. Yes, I really enjoyed doing that little pieces there.
Do you remember when you were in Kiev and he was kind of looking after you for a little bit? Because there's a picture of you and him there as well.
Of course, of course. That was great. I mean, that was such an important moment as well, in like the way things have gone politically and all that, and all this, the invasion and all that. So it was so important, and such good people there. Also, we were treated so well. So yeah, we had a wonderful time, and I wish them all the best. And just hope they can resume the lives with some normality as soon as possible. Really.
Oh, yeah, you and me both, man. You and me both. Oi, oi, oi. Okay, so on our last podcast, I mentioned the angelic process. You went off and you listened to them. We mentioned this earlier. On this podcast, if I say it rightly, on this podcast, I'm going to recommend you go and listen to the soundtrack of the Claire Obscure game um, because it's French, mainly in French. It's
Yeah.
by a lady called Lorien Testard. I probably said it wrong.
Lorient to start. Okay.
It's flawless. I listened to it too many times. I think it's beautiful, and because I hear your solo music, I know there's an appreciation for that classical vibe and stuff like that.
For sure.
So I think you'll appreciate it. So please, if you remember what I say, like please listen to that. It's great.
So repeat it again. Claire Obscure is the name of the record.
The Claire Obscure is the name of the game. It's a computer game, But
Ah,
this lady called Lorien Testard, I think it's a lady,
yeah.
Lorien Testard has made the soundtrack for it.
Ah, it's a soundtrack for the game. Okay.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's worth listening to. I hope you'll like it. I hope you don't come back and go, Tom, this was shit. What was this? But
Very unlikely. I'll be on it as soon as we finish this conversation.
oh, nice. So okay, so what about no, okay. My You mentioned earlier cats. I wanted to ask you, do you still have cats?
Of course, I do have cats. Two Burmans, Marley and Ptolemy. They've been with us for we had them since they were 6 and 5, and now they're 18 and 16. So there you go.
Ah, they're doing well.
Yeah, bless them. Yeah, you know what? They're just indoor cats, so they don't have much stress in their life. You know, they just wake up, go to eat, have a shit, whatever, get some hugs and love, and then go back to sleep. So fair enough, you know.
I suppose, and it also you got that lovely Welsh air as well. I know they're indoors, but it's still nice air. And
Yeah, no, they go out a bit in the garden occasionally just to eat grass and vomit. That's what they do.
it's so
That's
true.
that's where they sniff the air, I guess. Yes.
Since being in Wales, have you climbed any mountains?
Well, mountains. You know, I'm a Greek. You know, there's no mountains in Wales, man. It's just all a bit of a. I
It's a
remember
bit
what.
hills.
Yeah, it's hills because we went actually with we played in North Wales with Landscape once and with in Landscape the guitarist George was Greek as well. He now lives in Athens, back in Athens. And I remember like we're talking about the Welsh mountains and we're in Snowdonia, you know, and he just turned around. It's like, man, where are the mountains? That's bullshit, man. Those are no mountains, man.
it's no, go ahead, go ahead.
No, I'm just gonna say I haven't really climbed. This is like the how's it called, Penny Van here.
That's the one I've done.
You've gone, right? Yeah, I haven't gone there because it's so popular. I see constantly like crowds, and I'm like,
Yeah,
I can't be bothered. But we do like to go for walks around. Mostly hills. It's not really mountains, but yeah, we like to walk out in sort of that sort of like interesting terrains. So I would say the coast here is very spectacular. It's a Jurassic type of coast, and really we go a lot for walks across the
oh,
coast,
nice.
sort of stuff. Yeah.
It's funny you say about like with Greece and stuff because when I went to Greece for my birthday a few years ago, we stayed in a place called Agria. I don't know if you know it. It's near Volos.
Ah, okay. Yes, I'm not familiar with the area, but I heard Volos is very nice.
It was beautiful. We were lucky because we got to spend the day in Athens, and then we went down to Thessaloniki, then to Volos, and yeah, they had mountains. And then you looked, okay, you turned left, you saw mountains. You turn right, you saw the sea. It was really weird, but it was beautiful. It was like wow, like you just literally led down into this massive sea full of sea urchins. And
That's amazing, to be honest.
yeah, there's a tradition there that my friend I mentioned earlier, Demetrius Tushigas, Tushigas, he drinks Chipero. Do you know Chipero?
Oh, I love Chipro, man. We have it here in the house. Cheryl and I are big fans of Chipro. My grandfather used to drink a whole bottle of it every single day. So there you
Oh,
go.
do you ever go to a Chipero Taverna whenever you go back to Greece, where you buy the Chipero, they give you free food, and the more you buy, the better the food is? Have you ever done that when you've been in Greece when you come
All
back?
right, okay. No, to be honest, we'll be more like the sort of people that will get a Chipro at home at
Ah,
wherever we stay, and then we'll have it there probably. Or if we go to eat, we just go to eat, and then we get like not a whole bottle. We're gonna get a glass or whatever, something like that. But you probably mean the Uzeri, right? That sort of place.
it's yeah, it's that sort of thing. I he
Yeah,
only
yeah.
ever calls them tavernas, like Demetrius always says they're
Yes. Yeah,
tavernas,
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, they're great. They're great. They're sort of more for the older generations, but you know what? You know, a good thing is a good thing. It doesn't matter how old you are. So.
Demetrius is younger than you, man. He'll slap you for that.
But the young, I mean, I don't know, man. The younger people that don't go to the old, unless I have the wrong sort of, the younger people who go to the cafeterias and that sort of
I know
stuff.
he's not that young.
Yeah.
He's 44, so he's 44,
Oh,
45.
okay.
So
Well, he's more or less my age. Okay. Yeah.
okay, fair enough then.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so is there anything you want to add to this? Anything you want to tell me or not tell me?
No, other than it has been great to catch up with you. I saw you last year anyway. That was a long time, you know, in there in between, isn't it? Until we saw each other last year at the gig. So great to see you in Mechelen. And thank you. It was really good. You know, it doesn't often happen. You know, very often, most of the time, whenever I've been asked to do an interview or whatever, it's generally questions being sent, and then you write. It's just not the same vibe, You have to type them in Word, and it's not.
Yeah, yeah.
And I really love that sort of conversation in person. So yeah, I appreciate your time and having prepared all these very interesting questions. And yeah, thanks to you for all the work you're doing. Thanks to everyone watching as well. And it has been really really a big pleasure for me.
No, I appreciate that you took the time to do this with me. And also, all my questions you answered without me asking. Like, I had a few of them, but you were always linking into them. And I was like, how is he doing this? Like,
Telepathy,
everything.
man. Great. I'm glad. It kind of means that we're on the same wavelength, isn't it? That's that thing that really helps. So
Yeah,
yeah.
you don't. It's true. Okay, Mr. Costas, I will leave you be to your evening and I think you finished your glass of wine now. I think maybe you can go
I
have another
just
one.
finished it. It was a stout actually, but
Oh,
yeah, I did
stout. Okay.
finish it, and it was lovely. But yeah, as everyone can see now, it's empty. So maybe I should be doing something about that. So
Uh,
yeah.
okay, you take care, and I will speak to you soon, and I will get this up as soon as I can. And
Excellent.
yeah, all right, you take care of yourself, and thank you again.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Speak to you soon, Tom.
Speak to you soon. Take care.
Cheers. Bye bye.